Namo Phat. Thank you for joining me for a daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The fifth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I vow to cultivate good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will ingest only items that preserve peace, well-being, and joy in my body and my consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family and society. I'm determined not to use alcohol or any other items that contain toxins, such as certain TV programs, magazines, books, films, and conversations. I'm aware that to damage my body or my consciousness with these poisons is to betray my ancestors, my parents, my society, and future generations. I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself and in society by practicing a diet for myself and for society. I understand that a proper diet is crucial for self-transformation and the transformation of society. For Dharma lessons, we've been reading Ajahn Chah's book, Everything is Teaching Us, and we're continuing in a talk called Even One Word is Enough. If you keep worrying about what might happen in the future, there's no end to it. There's only constant confusion and speculation. Tomato, do you know what will happen in 2 or 3 years? Will there be a big earthquake? When people come to ask you about these things, you can tell them they don't need to look so far ahead to things they can't really know for certain. Tell them about the moving and quaking that is always going on, about the transformation that allowed you to grow to be as you are now. The way people think is that having been born, they don't want to die. Is that correct? It's like pouring water into a glass but not wanting it to fill up. If you keep pouring the water, you can't expect it not to be full. But people think like this. They are born but don't want to die. Is that correct thinking? Consider it. If people are born but never die, will that bring happiness? If no one who comes into the world dies, things will be a lot worse. If no one ever dies, we will probably all end up eating excrement. Where would we all stay? It's like pouring water into the glass without ceasing, yet still not wanting it to be full. We really ought to think things through. We are born but don't want to die. If we really don't want to die, we should realize the deathless, Dhamma, as the Buddha taught. Do you know what Dhamma means? It is the deathless. Though you die, if you have wisdom, it is as if you don't die. Not dying, not being born. That's where things can be finished. Being born and wishing for happiness and enjoyment without dying is not the correct way at all. But that's what people want. So there is no end of suffering for them. The practitioner of Dharma does not suffer. Well, practitioners such as ordinary monks still suffer because they haven't yet fulfilled the path of practice. They haven't realized Dhamma, so they still suffer. They are still subject to death. Dhamma is the deathless. Born of the womb, can we avoid death? Apart from realizing that there is no real self, there's no way to avoid death. I don't die. Sankhara undergo transformation, following their nature. This is hard to see. People can't think like this. You need to get free of worldliness, like Sumedho did. You need to leave the big, comfortable home and the world of progress like the Buddha did. If the Buddha had remained in his royal palace, he wouldn't have become the Buddha. It was by leaving that palace and going to live in forests that he attained that. The life of pleasure and amusement in the palace was not the way to enlightenment. May all beings be well, may all beings be happy, may all beings be peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for joining me today.